Inshallah. So I don't know what kind of show this is going to be. I don't know what we're going to talk about, and I'm kind of excited about that. That's quite interesting. And actually, when I travel and I meet people randomly, when I meet random different kinds of people, I enjoy that. We just kind of kick it off. And my wife said it to me the other day. You pretty much can talk to anyone. You can open the doors and just have a conversation with just about anyone. And alhamdulillah, I take that as a good thing. So let's see who's watching while we're waiting for Brother Richard to join us. He's just signing on to his laptop as we speak. We did a little brief intro with him to make sure he was up and running. And as far as I'm aware, it's all good. Let me just close all of these tabs that are dingy, dingy, dingy. They're starting to really annoy me. Oh, there we go again. And as you know, we are fundraising for the Dawah, support the projects. Feeding the poor, helping the poor is very important. That's one aspect. Other aspects are other things we're doing, like helping the families that need and families that want us to help them, etc. Hang on one second, sorry. There's no voice. Can you hear now? Abdurrahman, people are saying that there's no sound. Can they not hear me? Let's see. Are you sure? I could think. So there was no sound. Okay, guys, sorry about that. That is the technical person in the background, my son, Abdurrahman. And he's saying he's fixed it, alhamdulillah. So I think the sound is working. And boom, look, here we go. We have him. Welcome to this isn't like a Jerry Springer show, so I can't start throwing things around. But welcome to the platform, my brother Richard. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Welcome, Richard. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I have to say, I'm kind of excited. First time I saw your picture or your clip yesterday. I didn't see the whole thing. I just literally, they turned it on. I said, nope, don't show me. I'd rather find out directly from Brother Richard himself. So here we are. So tell me, let's start. Where do we start? Let's start first of all. Introduce yourself. I'm Jalal Mohabbat, or Jalal ibn Saeed, as people like to call me. My father's name is Saeed, so I am Ibn Saeed. I'm originally from Afghanistan. I grew up in Houston, Texas. My family's still there. In fact, they should all be watching right now. I've got family in California, Alabama, all parts of the states, Oklahoma, Kansas, Baltimore. And eventually I ended up in London, UK. It's a long story. I ended up in London, UK. I'm here now for the past so many years, and I travel quite a lot, and I like to help people in different places, in different charity sectors. I've always had a spiritual attention. I've always liked to be connected with people of different backgrounds, so I traveled. You remember Greyhound? That's still there, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Somewhere.
Say again?
Somewhere.
Somewhere, right.
Somewhere. I don't know.
But I used to love doing that. I used to hop on the Greyhound and go wherever it took me. And it was only a couple bucks. And I would just meet random people and get connected, went to church for a while, then eventually studied Islam and traveled. And now I'm here. And I'm kind of like, I feel like a bridge in between different cultures, different societies, just kind of probably how you feel right now in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So in a nutshell, you're going to have questions for me. That's just to start. Tell me a bit about yourself now, Richard.
Well, I'm retired military. I joined the Marine Corps, retired from the Army, and a total of 25 years in service. Most of that was active duty, and troubled teenager, involved in drugs, teenage runaway. As I grew up in the military, I became pretty much a drunk and a womanizer, and developed a hatred for Islam.
Yeah.
But like I like to tell people that the word is used far too often nowadays without the true meaning behind it. I don't think people really realize what hatred really means. I know I didn't until I looked from outside the box. Actually, what it was all about, and developed my hatred grew to a point to where I developed a plan to blow up an Islamic center here in Indiana
Yeah.
uh, on a Friday Juma when it was most crowded. And
When was that? When was that?
well, I didn't really have a date to do it. I was ready to do it at any time. I was planning it between late '07 all the way through up until the time I actually went to the masjid myself. So
Mhm.
yeah, because I took my time. I took my time. I didn't want to raise any red flags. Why is this guy trying to gather up all this material? I took absolute time with it, so I didn't have to worry about nothing.
Mhm.
Uh, but I ended up becoming a Muslim myself after meeting the community, spending time with the community, and more importantly, reading the Quran.
Right, right. Is
To
this you go on? Sorry, you got cut off. Carry on.
yeah. So I became a Muslim, and 3 years, no, 2 years later, I became president of the MSA, the Muslim Students Association here at Ball State University,
Wow.
which was um, because here, I was in my 40s
Yeah.
at the time, and but I was like sophomore in college because I got hurt overseas, so that was the reason for my retirement, and they paid for my college, so I was
Right.
the old guy in the classroom. But then 3 years, a year later, after being president of MSA, I actually became president of that Islamic center that I was going to blow up. So a total of 3 years after I become a Muslim.
3 years. Okay. Wow. So we're talking the year you became Muslim was which year again? 2009.
2009.
So 2007, end of '07, '08, things changed. '09, Muslim, 2, 3, you're still sleeping. I'm telling you, man. I am telling you. My
Yeah.
dad was a very strong person, subhanAllah. He was a very strong person, subhanAllah. Carry on. Sorry. You were saying.
No, no. So, and he owned his own business.
Yeah.
Him and my stepmother. They owned a like mom and pop shop. It was he was a butcher by trade. And when he got out of the Marine
What
Corps,
what city is this in now at that time? What city is that in?
this is outside of Cincinnati,
Okay. Okay.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
All
Yes.
right, gotcha. This world is made by the lazy man. Well, actually, not lazy man. What do you say? This world is made by the lonely man. That's it, lonely man. So
Uh,
this world is made by the lonely man. So everything is designed that one man can do it. So never think I need help. He said
right.
you just got to put a lot of hard work into it, and you can do it. I didn't understand then. I used to get annoyed, but now I get it. Now it just kind of makes sense.
So yeah, so so it was a family run shop. We all worked there. I couldn't stand working there. It was just it was horrible. Matter of fact, we were just talking about it on the phone about how none of the sons wanted to take the store over, wanted to take the family business over
Uh,
because we all saw all the trash that went into making it. We didn't want nothing to do with all that. That was just too much.
Wow.
So
Well, being a military dad and coming from that background, I understand what you mean. That must have been tough. And then when you decided to go to the Marine, you thought that was something he was going to approve and be very pleased with. Is that what you
he
said?
was gonna be proud of me, yeah,
And what was
because
the
he knows.
reaction then?
He didn't think it was very smart. I mean, well, I didn't see him again until after I came back because like I said, I'd run away. I didn't see him again until I was in uniform.
So you ran away first, gone for a while, joined the military, Marine Corps.
Mhm,
Afterwards, during some break or something, you return home to surprise him. I am alive. I am well. I'm in the Marines.
mhm.
And what was the response? How did he receive you?
He was happy to see me.
Yeah.
He was happy to see me. He
Alhamdulillah.
could not believe what he was looking at in front of him, and he didn't say it, but I could tell he did have a kind of respect for me.
Yeah.
But he did say, why did you go and do something stupid like join the Marine Corps?
I swear I was so worried you were gonna say that. I had a feeling. 'Cause
Yeah.
now that I'm
Well,
older, I know what my dad means. He
yeah,
as much even though he was a colonel in the army and stuff, he just sees the corruption of the world and would never want that for his son or for anyone. He wouldn't want it for his
right.
enemies.
Right. Yeah. Well, it basically just because the lifestyle is so hard, and always being gone, not being able to keep a family, and
Yeah.
it's just, yeah. So he
Is
just
your dad alive? Is your dad alive and well now at home?
he's alive and mostly well.
Great. Good to
Yes.
hear.
Yes. Yeah.
Good to hear. So you still talk to him. We'll talk about that in a bit
Yeah.
because I got more to ask about what Dad's got to say about President Richard. This is
Yeah.
another situation. I wonder, let's come back to that. So first is you came home and then you went back, you did service. Where did you go?
I've been well, I like to say places where there was bullets flying. I don't really call it, because
Yeah,
it's a
politically, you're
struggle
trying to
still
say
with
the
me.
politically right thing. I get it.
Yeah, it's a struggle still with me. So, but Panama in '89, Shield Storm 90, 91, 90 and 91, and Somalia in 1992 and 93. That was the Marine Corps. I got out for 2 years, and then I went into the Army, and from there I went to Bosnia and other places that you'll have to pardon me, but I don't talk about those.
The Bosnia situation was really bad. Yeah. The late
Well, when
90s.
I was there in '04, so it calmed down a lot.
Yeah.
Now we were doing the cleanup. As a matter of fact, the team I was with, what our job was to actually capture the war criminals,
Yeah.
Milosevic, Karadzic, and those guys. Uh, so, and
Were
it's
you
it's
part of
fun.
were you part of catching some of those guys?
I was part of attempts. Um, we never did, to be honest with you. And now the non-disclosure statements have run out. The people that we did capture,
Yeah.
honestly, were Al Qaeda members.
Really?
Yeah, because Bosnia is or was, I don't know if it still is or not, but was an Al Qaeda training place. Um, and
Mm.
those were guys just after the war, when all the Mujahideen had come to help out the Bosnians, and
Well, that was a culture back then because 80,
yes,
all the Mujahideen were encouraged by the West, by every government. It was a praiseworthy thing from Egypt to the US to Canada, where anyone who traveled from anywhere in the world as a Muslim or as anybody who went to, say, Afghanistan against the Soviet Union, it was bigged up. I mean, President Reagan and Clinton and others before Clinton, what was between, anyway, so Bush Sr., they used to praise the Mujahideen. They used to say they're
oh yeah,
honorable freedom fighters, etc. So it became a culture. And when the Soviets fell, I think it was end of '89 or mid '89, when the Soviets ended and they were withdrawing, I think a lot of Mujahideen. I mean, I was a kid then still, so I wouldn't remember, but a lot of them probably traveled around. I guess a lot of them ended up in Bosnia, Serbia situation.
well yeah, and they went there with the war to help out, to do their part, as being uh, the 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 right jihadi. And of course
Yeah,
we may get into that later, um, but helping out their cause, and at that time, of course, their cause was just. It was just. It was defensive. It was to protect all these lives, man. They were just getting slaughtered, genocide, because that's
yeah,
what was going on in Bosnia. And so what happened was when the war was over, there was a few that decided to stay and set up camp, and they came there for training purposes. What they in what I don't know. That was beyond me, and I didn't care. I didn't question, so it didn't make no sense. I didn't bother me. I'm just here to get people.
yeah,
So, but yeah, we were on a failed raid to get Milosevic, uh, April 15th of '04.
oh 04, yeah,
Yeah, April 15th of '04. It was in Pale.
yeah,
And he wasn't there. There was a priest, and a priest's son was there,
right.
and they both ended up dying. um, and Milosevic was gone, and I'll never forget it because I was pretty cold back then. Anyway, I was just a cold human being,
Well, you have
and
to be in that
yeah,
position, to be in the Marine Corps. You know, one, two, three, four. I love the Marine Corps. Everything is programmed. It's
oh yeah,
reflexive. It's reactive. There's no humanity allowed in there because otherwise you're not going to be a good, effective, efficient. What was it? Effective and efficient soldier. Effective soldier.
yeah.
So I totally
I
get
use the term tool, but yes,
yeah, yeah,
uh, yeah, you know, uh, and the funny aspect of it all, like I said, I was kind of cold, but we had given Milosevic his own code name. It was Elvis
yeah, yeah,
because of his hair. Remember his
yeah,
hair,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
I
we
heard
called
that.
him.
I remember. I heard that. Some people talked about
Yeah.
that back in the day.
So I had to get on the radio and had to say Elvis left the building. He's not here. I did. I did. Yeah,
Oh, you must have enjoyed saying it though.
I did. I really did.
Even though mission failed, Elvis has left the
Yeah.
building.
Oh yeah, and it rose a big stink too because man, Serbia wanted to try us as war criminals. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Well, I think that's a turning point. So when did I mean obviously by now you're meeting Muslims, you're seeing the situation. When did the hate creep in? When did it start?
well, the hatred started before Bosnia.
Okay, when was that and where and why?
Um, you know, and that's been a question, and it's a great question.
Yeah,
It's been a question I think I've been asked since this whole story started.
of course.
Um, I don't have a pinpoint time. You know,
But you got a
when,
feeling though, you got a feeling of what caused it, what brought it
yeah,
in.
mine was just it was the common enemy and everything that I was seeing
Common enemy. Mm.
being inside this echo box,
Yeah.
right? That I put myself in because I'm a Fox News alumni, you know, and all those guys. There would have been years ago that I would have been, you know, marching up and down the streets with a Trump sign.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
that's who I was, right?
Yeah.
And so when it came to the hatred of Islam because of my ignorance and because what I did see from these people who called themselves Muslims,
Yeah.
it just reiterated everything.
Where was that?
Well, and that was places I really don't like to discuss too much, but the the government, because of those charges in Bosnia, because the Serbians really wanted to come get us, and we
Yeah.
were in Tuzla, is where our base was, Eagle
Yeah.
Base, Tuzla,
Yeah.
and of course the American government says, "Well, we'll just get rid of them," so they sent us some other country,
Okay.
and it was a Muslim country, of course. And I did some shady things there, and that was my job. But um, yeah, I don't. Sorry, I got distracted.
That's all right. Take your time.
Sorry, I got.
I know it's sensitive because you're thinking I don't want to say certain things. I get it.
Yeah,
But ultimately I think here part of that atonement, as I guess you can say, is when you realize when it started and you dig it out. Like you said, it's an ignorance. It's really that simple.
oh
It's not
yeah.
that complicated.
You know, I was going off of some people's examples,
Mm,
and of course, the media. And the media, I don't think there really was a media outlet that was Islam friendly at that point, anyway.
yeah.
Except maybe Al Jazeera, of course, but that was it, right? There was none, and
Well, the late 90s and early 2000s, the media was very headstrong anti-Islam. I'm not quite sure why. I mean, it kicked off quite early, and I found movies, films, etc., all that. It didn't help. And then obviously, if you're out there and you go to a place like Bosnia or places around there, other places you don't want to mention, and you meet those type of individuals, yeah, I can see what you mean by it reiterated it.
yeah, and well, I mean, you know, a lot of that came from when Bin Laden passed that uh, uh, fatwa against the United States
Yeah.
when
That
we
was a
got
big shocker for the US, wasn't it?
that was huge, and a lot of people don't even understand what was behind that. You know,
Yeah.
believe you me, I'm not taking Bin Laden's side in this, none whatsoever. But people need to know the whole story, and it's because when Saddam invaded Iraq, or I mean, invaded Iraq, when Saddam
Kuwait.
invaded
Invaded
Kuwait,
Kuwait. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
uh, Bin Laden, being a Saudi himself, said, "Hey, I will bring these mujahideen from Afghanistan to Saudi, and we will protect the kingdom."
Yeah.
The royal family said, "No, we got the Americans coming."
Yeah.
He took that very hard. It really
Yeah.
hurt him a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. I mean, and maybe people can't understand that, but then people don't understand that. People can't understand the lifestyle that he had and the culture and everything else. And, so I do understand where he was coming from and all that and what he was reaching for.
Yeah.
I do not absolutely in the slightest agree with his methods, but
Well, if you, I don't, to be honest with you, I'm gonna play as honest about this as I can. I don't know his methods. I
right.
haven't seen his methods. I just heard what was said on the news. I've only seen his methods in magazines and articles. What I'm trying to say is there was a massive play here, and the American people, myself, I remember as a child growing up, I had a feeling, I had a thinking, I had a certain atmosphere cloud. I was in a bubble. And then when I came to Europe, that bubble burst and I was forced to see reality for what it was.
Mhm.
So, if anything, I was probably more fanatical in my religion and beliefs when I was back in the States, when I was young, learning, reading. But when I saw
Sure.
life for what it actually was, it calmed me down. I was like, whoa, wait a second. Life is this, life is that. So, when it comes to OBL, um, I don't think we'll ever know the truth. But what I do know is that there was a massive feeling growing up as a child for me, as a war child myself, coming out of Afghanistan, the whole upbringing, the whole culture, whatever could have been, might have been, should have been, never happened because of the Soviets invasion. I became somebody brand new in Houston, growing up in another place with racist people around me, teachers, school, employees, employers, places like that. I grew up in that, and it made me as strong. It made me who I am. But at that time, all I could think about was nothing was as bad as what I read about the KGB, Rocky Five, the whole
Oh
Russian
yeah.
fight against Russia, and Red Dawn. Do you remember Red Dawn?
Oh
The
yeah.
original
The
one, the
original one.
original Red Dawn.
Yes.
Oh, I love that film.
Soviets and the Cubans, I think it
Sorry,
was,
say
yeah.
again?
Soviets and the Cubans.
That's right.
Yeah,
It was Soviets, Cuba. Yeah, it was the Cubans. That's right.
yeah,
It was the Cubans and Chinese were somehow involved. No, sorry, Japanese, Cubans, and the Russians.
yeah.
Some kind of thing was going on. And then you had, what was the other film called? There was a few films that taught us this. Iron Eagle. That was built up towards Iraq. If you remember
Uh,
Iron Eagle, kid, his dad gets shot down over Iraq in a plane. So him and that Chappie, I forget his real name, the actor.
Chappie, yeah.
You remember
Louis
Chappie?
Gossett Jr.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
yeah,
Or Gossett Jr. And they flew out. They stole the planes, F-15 fighter jets. They went out. All those stories. I wanted to join the Air Force after watching that and Top
oh
Gun.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody did.
yeah.
But I think there was a bubble there. And after 95, 97, and slowly into 2000, before September 11th, just before, the feelings were changing. And then right after September 11th, I could see everything that was building up. And the very same things as a kid, I was afraid of the KGB and what they did. I see our guys doing the FBI, the CIA, the secret services, whatever the things, the torture tactics, the exploitation, entrapment, loads of entrapment going on, loads of innocent people imprisoned, etc. Loads of stuff was going on early 2000s that a lot of people wouldn't have had a clue. You wouldn't have had a clue being in the Marine Corps. You wouldn't have had a clue being in the Army, sorry. You would have been just gung-ho exactly as you were supposed to be. What I saw, the Bobs and the Richards and the Charlies in high school, and what I met in the football team and who I saw go to the military, go to the Army, go to the Navy, go to the Marine Corps, just like yourself. Frederick Stanley, one of my best friends, still to this day I talk about him. He's my best friend. He went to the Air Force. Him and I promised we'd go to the Air Force together, but he went, I didn't. And all those things I remember. It's just, I feel like it's a massive theatrical play that when we come here, look at who you are, look at who I am, and we're having this conversation now because the minds have opened up. And
And that's a very good point. I appreciate you coming back at me like that, because that is a very good point. You know, we and we will continue. Humanity continues to do it. I think we're all guilty of it. You know, we act, react from what we're told, from what we may see quickly, instead of, which actually makes the point of me becoming a Muslim, until we actually look into that story,
okay,
into that
yeah.
situation, you
And I
know?
think that's what I mean. Yeah, it's sensitive. I got to be careful. I mean, no offense to anyone. I'm an American. I'm British. I'm Afghan. I'm not conflicted. I am not
Right.
conflicted. I am not conflicted in the slightest bit. However, there is a lie and there is a misguidance and then there's ignorance. So to an extent, people are ignorant. And then
No,
to an
yeah.
extent, there's a game being played. And then to an extent, there's just the bigger picture. It's the bigger picture is always easy to see. As in the Quran, Allah says, falsehood, the bigger picture, by design will fall. So the truth will always come out. And that's what's happening now. And it's embarrassing. I read an article yesterday about some post someone made, an American soldier. Did you go to Afghanistan by any chance?
Possibly.
Okay, so Afghanistan, we had some soldiers there, and this guy's taking a picture with this Afghan man. He's wearing, well, they all look like Taliban to the Americans. They'd see everyone. I'm a Taliban, right? So I'm
Yeah.
Taliban as you can possibly get. You look at me,
Yeah.
but so yeah. So you had this guy had his hands up, and he said the quote from the soldier. He said, "I wish we had spent more time getting out of our Humvees and spending time drinking green chai with the people to find out who our friends are than trying to drive around to find our enemy," meaning shooting up and killing so many innocent people. It's countless.
Mhm.
And the response that post got, I felt that's nice that some soldier thought that. But then when I saw the response of the Afghans, everyone is just full of hearts and love. That kind of made me feel like I was being duped or played. I felt stupid. So I
Right.
just turned around and said, hang on a second, guys. You want to offer him tea? After what? Going all gung ho and cowboyish, blow up this, shoot that, kill this person, bomb a wedding, bomb a funeral, kill a bunch of doctors, do everything. And now, oh, when I'm going home, you know what? I wish I had some more green tea. I find that pretty messed up. And I think first you need
Yeah.
to you
I
need
can
to
see that.
atone for what you've done. And the number one thing with the black slaves in America, slavery in America, racism in America, the European UK here, the amount of colonialism they've done, you got to first put your hands
Oh
up
my
and
gosh.
point fingers at what you've done before you can have a cup of green tea. And I think that's where we're at. But the good thing is, I'm going to tell you this, my friend Richard. One big thing the American community, when I was grew up in it and being an American, and then I came out here, one thing we missed is there is a humanity out there that we never knew of.
No,
And the
that's true.
humanity out there is far more kind, gentle, understanding, cooperative, forbearing, forgiving, understanding, empathetic in every country in the world I've been to, except in the US and places like the West. People are
Mhm.
just not that empathetic. When you go anywhere, they
No.
are so kind. They are so generous that you could see they just blasted the living hell out of Afghanistan, the Russians. And then the British had done that before long ago. And now the Americans, Brits, and everyone else teamed up and did the same thing again. And the Afghans see this one comment from a soldier and they're all hearts and love. It just shows you that there is another culture out there that would really benefit if everyone just
Yeah.
kind of merged together and learned. Like, look at you right now. I don't see you as converted. I see you as you just enlightened. You've just learned. That's all there is to it. I see you just kind of come out of your shell. Me, when I became Muslim and practicing coming out of church, I didn't see myself as someone changed. I saw myself as someone who learned the truth about Jesus or moved one step ahead. I didn't
Well,
change or abandon anything.
and that's why one of the common terms that we use in Islam is, it's not convert, it's revert, right?
That's right. That's
So we kind of just figured out the way it was supposed to be. And it was, so but yeah, and you're absolutely right. And I know I've been on every continent except Antarctica. And I
I
used to
haven't
tell
been there
people,
either. Maybe we can go
yeah,
there together, huh? We should do like
I
a
don't,
Bear Grylls adventure. Go out there together. I'd love to go. I'd love to go. I've
I
never been
used to
to
tell
Antarctica. I
people
haven't
until
been
they
to the
could,
North Pole either.
Until they put people on, or until they put penguins on the terrorist watch list, I probably wouldn't go.
Wow, yeah, that's a good point.
It's,
Yeah.
but
Well, tell me about the first spiritual moment then, when you had this thing with your stigma against Muslims, and then you met Muslims that kind of reiterated that, and then the hatred grew. So let's go there now.
uh,
Eventually,
so
it took a turn, didn't it? It must have taken a turn somewhere.
turn for the worse or the best?
Well, worse first before it
Worse.
got better, isn't it?
Um, I guess really it was. hmm, It was probably back when I was back here in the States awaiting my retirement,
Uh,
um, because, to me, it's like I couldn't go anywhere where there wasn't a Muslim, you know? Like I had made I made the statement time and time again that my wife and I went to a shoe store, and of course, I'm sitting in a chair because that's what the husbands do. We just go find a chair to sit in, and
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
And I look across the store and there's these 2 women dressed in a black burqa, and I sat there and cried, praying, not that I was a Christian or anything like that, but praying to give me enough strength to go break both their necks because they were in my store. That's exactly the way I saw it. They're in my store, right? And it the hatred consumed me to a point to where I referred to it as it actually being an organ in my body.
Wow.
And I credit it with keeping me alive because I was in bad shape at the time. I was dealing with a lot of depression, because I didn't want to get out of the military. I wanted to go fight, and it's like I told them because I fought my retirement at first,
All
till I
right.
saw it was senseless, and I told them straight out, I'm not ready. I'm not done killing Muslims yet. That's what I told them. Well, I say dumb stuff, and that was something that definitely, if not at that point anyway, definitely after that, I was getting out. They were getting
Yeah.
me
Well,
out.
because once
So
you said that, that kind of raises flags, doesn't it?
it does. It does. So
Can you remember what? Can you remember anything other than like what would have built up to that much hatred, or is it that it had nothing to do with Muslims? It was something else going on that you needed something to target. Because so
well,
far, I haven't heard a reason to hate them.
and that's something I wrestled with too, because I was mad at the government because like they didn't need me anymore. After everything they put me through, they didn't need me anymore. And I was mad at the military because they didn't stick up for me, try to keep me in. And I was just mad. But I loved my country. I use the example because it's early lack of a good example, but really this is the best one, is that the flag was my cross.
Yeah.
Now people, Christians worship the cross, right? And it was my cross. And anybody that disrespected it, I was against. Matter of fact, there was a guy that lives down the street about a mile. He was flying his flag upside down, and it was hanging off his porch. Now, there's a meaning behind that. I don't need to get into all that. And I understand what he was doing. It was a
It
political
was a
statement.
political statement he was making. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Obama was still in office and he was upset. And to be honest with you, me and him probably would have been able to sit down and tell the same stories to each other. And we probably would have agreed on everything.
yeah.
But you don't disrespect my flag. I went to his house in the middle of the day and just took it.
Amen, brother. So would you say, could I link that earlier when you said, I'm not sympathizing with OBL, but I can understand? Because your flag, his holy land, the Americans are coming to disrespect it. Is that what it was?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And that's
That's
the way
what
I
you meant by
saw it.
you understood what he was going through.
And two, in reference, and what I told the FBI is that it's a hey, you guys took the war away from me. You took my destiny away. I was going to make my own. And so now I said, okay, no war for me. wow, no war for you. I'll make my own war.
Wow.
And that's what I did. And I didn't care because, see, I knew I would get caught probably before sundown.
Right. Right.
Because I'm not all that, and they're going to figure it out. And the forensics and science, they will know who did it.
So you had decided that if you went through with it that same day or later on that day, you were going to go down or taken in or something by then. So
Probably.
you were accepting of that, saying, okay, so that's my sacrifice. Was that your political statement?
Uh, Actually, I was dreaming of the day I would be able to talk in court.
Yeah.
I was
Of
dreaming of
what
that.
you would say.
I knew I would be found guilty. I knew I would be in a federal prison, and I
Yeah.
knew eventually there would be a needle be put in my arm. I knew that. I was good with that. It didn't matter because my original destiny, my destiny. Make sure you understand that's why I say my destiny because it was mine. We don't have control over destinies,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I was gonna die in combat. That was my destiny, and that's what I wanted because we touched on some of the bad stuff that I did
That
when
could
I
be
was
quite
younger.
shocking to come back from that, and that didn't happen.
I was beyond upset.
And
I mean,
that's kind of similar to many mujahideen who fight for the sake of Allah. They don't want to come back. They expect to die. They
mhm,
expect to go, and they expect their life to end for the sake of their Lord. In your case, for the sake of the flag, or for the sake of who you are. I'm a Marine. I'm a soldier. It's a lot of brainwashing that you didn't have any control over. I watched it, my
no,
friend. I watched it when I was a kid. I watched my friends get brainwashed. I watched that TV advert, the few,
oh
the
yeah,
proud, the Marines, even though they were raping and looting. I used to get so confused by watching Full Metal Jacket and other films like that. You remember what was that other one called? Those Full Metal Jacket. There was that other one.
Heartbreak Ridge,
That one too. The one where
yeah,
he's waiting for the helicopter, his hands are up in the air. What's his name?
oh Platoon,
Platoon. Oh my God.
yeah,
I cried my eyes out at that
yeah,
scene.
that was
But
something.
what blew me away about all those films were how many of my friends and people I knew and my coworkers and everyone that loved this stuff. And I was like, you do realize these films are admitting how many crimes we committed in that
Yeah,
country.
yeah,
You do realize we raped the living hell out of thousands of little girls. We killed men, we killed grandpas, we killed grandbabies, we killed everyone. We did. You realize what these films are saying? And the films are designed to make us only feel bad for that one soldier that's left behind in the end, ignoring all of those others that were killed and died and families ruined and lives devastated.
mhm,
One thing that shocked me when I watched that was just that no, there's a brainwashing here. It's not anyone that's people are not evil. They're not
no.
hateful. They don't want anyone to die. They just don't know. And that's what I think you've kind of you broke through that barrier, didn't you?
Well, I started to understand it, which was hard at the time because I was drunk every day.
Mm,
I was
mm.
drinking a half gallon of vodka every 2 days. Uh,
Wow.
yeah,
Mm.
I was in a bad place. I was really in a bad place. Um, I was suicidal, had thoughts, and
I can see
wanted
that. Yeah.
wanted to stand next to the explosive when it went off, kind of thing. Like, haha, now what?
I take it in the
Yeah,
field you were quite
but
a badass because you were
uh,
looking to die, isn't it? So you were quite.
I didn't have the same fears as everybody else. Put it
Yeah, you
that
didn't
way.
have the fear. Yeah, exactly.
My fear was that I would go down like a punk. That was my fear, to be honest with you. I mean,
And
I'm
for
just
someone like you,
being honest, man.
cowardice is worse, isn't it? Cowardice is
Yeah.
much worse.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. I remember during Desert Storm before we set off for the ground war.
Yeah.
Before we made our final push north, that night before we had gotten our orders and we got our told what, okay, this is what you're doing, this is what I'm doing, blah blah blah. I went out and actually said a prayer that was very similar to a Bon Jovi song at that time.
Which one?
The one about with the Young Guns. Um,
Oh yeah, going down in a blaze of glory.
yeah, and if nothing else, let me die like a man. That was it. You know.
That's how it
So
was. Yeah. So cowardice was a big thing. All right, let me ask you some questions here about the faith then. So with that hatred, you got to a point, FBI showed up. Thank God they did for many reasons. The fact that we can have this interview right now, me and you, I'm really grateful to that. So tell me what happened moving forward from there then.
Sure. Well, they didn't show up until after I was a Muslim for about, a year or 2.
Okay. Wow. Let's
So
rewind then.
yeah,
Let's rewind.
yeah.
Back up. Back up. Sorry. Tell your story how you want, because I actually
No,
thought
no.
they caught you first. They came after you.
Oh, no, 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 no. No, no, no,
You
no.
could not make this up. So,
No, no.
oh my God. Carry on. Bismillah.
So so what happened was is okay, let's go back to becoming a Muslim then.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Let's go back.
I go into the masjid because of something that happened with my daughter. Okay. She had come home from school one day
Yeah.
and she was in second grade at the time. And so, they don't understand a lot. In the beauty of children is that they're not prejudiced. They have no phobias, like xenophobia. They have none of that, right? They just like people. They want to play, right? They don't care. And she come home and was asking me where this what this lady was wearing and where she came from or whatever, because, my daughter figured, okay, dad's been around the world. He
Yeah.
probably knows where she's from or what she's wearing, all that stuff for, right? But this little boy in the class, his mom came to pick him up from class. Well, she was decked out, from head to toe, covered up. And she come home to tell me about it, and I told her, I says, I went off. I just started spewing things out of my mouth that were crazy.
Wow.
And um uh I remember the look on her face, and that's what changed a lot of things for me. Because my daughter, the relationship between a father and daughter should be special. It's supposed to be special, mine was, and it should be a special relationship. And, I love that little girl to death, man. I couldn't believe that she was looking at me, questioning how she felt about me now. After I made the statement, I don't want my family around those people. You know, and it made me think. Well, what I'm planning, because nobody knows about my plan. Absolutely no one knew
The plan
anything.
had already started by now. The
Oh, it
plan.
was all yeah. It was actually for the most part done.
Okay.
It's just waiting on a time.
Okay.
Final logistics was really the only thing left. Um,
Right.
so um, she questioned it. She gave me the look like she questioned her love for me, and that made me stop for a second and say, you know what? Maybe the ones in this community are not the bad ones. Maybe they're the few good ones that are around. Because I had met someone that were very nice,
Yeah.
although well, that's actually another story about my interpreter in Bosnia, but that's a story in itself.
Okay.
But I knew there was some good ones because I think there were because in my belief that there was some that just didn't know really everything there was to know about Islam. So those were the good ones because if they'd have known everything, they'd have been terrorists, right? Because of course the mentality I had,
So if they
because of
had
course the
knowledge, if they
mentality I had
learned.
was, all terrorists are Muslims and all Muslims are terrorists, right? That's
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah.
So I said, well, the only way to do this is to meet them. I've considered myself a kind of a courageous person, and I said, you know what, I can do this. I can walk in there and I can be an undercover brother
Yeah.
and go in there and tell them I just want to learn about Islam. I don't have to
Right.
tell them I'm the mad bomber, right?
Yeah.
Which I did until 6 months after I became a Muslim. But so I went in there. I saw this guy in the shoe room. He used to play NBA basketball back in the '70s. Very tall African American guy. And he looked up at me and he smiled. And I looked at him. I didn't smile back, but I looked at him and I says, "All right." He goes, "Can I help you?" And I says, "Yeah, I want you to teach me about Islam." He says, "Well, how long do you got?" I said, "I got a couple hours." He said, "Well, we'll give it a shot."
All right.
So, it was Friday. I went in there for that purpose because I know that's when most of them would be there.
Right.
So I went in for the Juma service,
Yeah.
and he sat me in the back of the room, uh, where we have some benches for our elderly brothers, and what I used to tell people, it's where I go sit when after I do leg day. So because I'm not getting up and down from the floor.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I hear you.
so so we went. I sat back there, and the sermon was good. Oh my gosh, it was such a good message, man.
Yeah.
But they only said that because I'm here. You know, they're probably building stuff down
They
in
knew
the
you were
basement.
coming. They prepared
Yeah,
the sermon for
yeah,
you.
yeah. All the bomb vests are in the basement, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I have to laugh because I think back 'cause that's really what I believe.
You weren't alone. You're not
Oh
the
my
only one. You know
gosh.
that.
I mean, I'm not an intellectual person, but I'm not that dumb either. But oh man, that's what I believed.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I got introduced to another guy closer to my age, and he started asking me a little bit of what I knew, which was nothing really. But I said, well, I did tell him. I says, well, to be honest with you, I don't know anything good. This stuff I've
Yeah.
heard has been all
That's good.
bad, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to learn something for myself. And he says,
Yeah. It's a
okay.
bit honest there. That's good honesty. Yep.
And he says, well, have you ever read the Quran? And I was able to maintain my composure and say, well, no, I haven't actually, because there was a lot of things that were boiling in my head I wanted to say, right? And
So at
so
this time, you're quite angry. Then I guess deep down, you're quite upset.
I'm I'm holding it in pretty good.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'm maintaining myself, and
Wow.
and this is what I tell Muslims today. If anybody, a non-Muslim, comes up to you and they want to learn something about Islam, they want to learn what is this religion about.
Yeah.
Do this. He went to we were in the library section of the center, and he went over to the bookshelf, grabbed the Quran. He said, "Here, take this home, read it,
Yeah.
come back when you have questions." And of course, it wasn't Ramadan, so I did come back, and I was there more than most of the Muslims, because it wasn't Ramadan. But so I was there all
Yeah.
the time, man, and I was asking questions because I was very serious about this because this is even though it was hatred, what I was trying to find when I'm reading this is I'm trying to find my evidence.
Right.
That's what I wanted. I
Of
wanted
course.
to find the evidence.
Yeah.
So I wasn't doing anything at the time. So I dedicated everything to reading the Quran, watching videos, both good and bad. A lot of the organizations here in the United States, ISNA, ICNA, and all of them, watching some of their videos, educational videos, matching that up with what the Quran says.
Hmm.
Because I had to go off the Quran. I
Yeah.
can't go so much off what somebody's telling me
Yeah.
unless I can have it backed up by the Quran because I
Of
know
course.
this book. This book is what Muslims are supposed to be living their life by. This is
Yeah.
their rules, right?
Yeah.
And so we like I said, I went back and forth, watched bad videos and tried to compare it. Okay, where is that? Where is that? Where is it in here? It's it's not. I was like, oh man, wait a minute.
I've been
But
lied
what
to. I've been had. I've been confused. I've been misled.
but
Somebody
what
lied to me.
really
God damn it.
but what really touched me and what really started my change was Surah 5, 32nd ayat, when it talks about to
Surah
save a
Ma'idah,
human
verse
life is
32.
yeah, is to save all of humanity and to kill one human being is to kill all of humanity. Of course, that's the Cliff Notes version, but yes, that's what it says. I'm like, wait a minute. So according to their book, saving a life is actually more important and looked at more honorably than killing a life. So now all I got to go back to is the guys I just moved a couple years ago or been around that were trying to hurt me and my people
Mm,
and watching their actions.
mm. Yeah.
Okay. And so I look further. I look into the Quran where it talks about, during times of war, you don't hurt women, you don't hurt children, you don't hurt the elderly, you do not destroy religious structures, not Islamic structures, religious structures.
Any religious structure.
That's
Correct.
right. I seen those guys do that within an hour, all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, they don't represent Islam.
No, they don't.
And that's where the ignorance faded from me.
Yeah.
And as I read, I understood, and I felt that feeling. See, because I mean, being American, of course, I have knowledge of Christianity. I actually pretty much now. I used to go to church. Used to go to church camp in the summer, vocation Bible school, all that. I used to do all that.
What church did you go to? What denomination?
It was a Baptist church. It was a Baptist
Baptist, yeah.
and a Nazarene church. I went to a Nazarene church, but the only reason I went to the Nazarene church was so I could play on their softball team. I'll be
Wow.
honest with
Wow, did you just say that?
well, that's half true because it was a softball team and one of the girls there. So
Oh,
that was why I
yeah.
went there. So I'd go back and forth. I was baptized as a Baptist. So
Right.
yeah. And
Was she the one you married, or you married someone else?
no. Oh yeah. Which time?
Oh, right. Okay. How many children have you got now?
I have 4.
So at the time when things were changing, your little girl that said that to you, she was the only one, first one, second, third?
She's the only one that's still in school, is still at home. The other ones are by previous marriage and relationships.
Right. So they're much older.
Yes, they actually have their own families. So,
Right.
uh,
Bless.
but but
Well, I think this is quite interesting. So moving forward, you know what the project I've been heavily involved in, my organization is called Al Fitra. And Al Fitra is a natural disposition of good in any human being. And it's all about people. I've always been about people, no matter who they are. Help them find their way to Allah. Return them to Allah. Revert to Allah. You were good once upon a time. Everything you've just described is about ignorance, being ignorant and not knowing. I was ignorant. Everyone was ignorant. It's all about what you learn, but who lets you. If the narrative is controlled and everything around you is bubbled in, you're never going to find out. So one of my biggest advices to everyone in America was always, you got to take a trip out of that country. You got to reach out.
oh yeah,
Internet helped a lot, but even the internet is very controlled to what you can see. The whole metadata controls everything. So everything's about where you've been, your analytics, your cookies in your phones and your laptops. It controls what you see. So you're still limited. You don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. So that knowledge, what I found out, that Islamophobia, which we'll talk about in a minute, Islamophobia grew from this. And I saw that racism. And I saw it wasn't just racism, it was bullies.
oh
High
yeah,
school was full of bullies. It was the American bully, the football player, the basketball jock, the works. And then you go to college, it was all about beer, and beer did a big thing, the keg parties, the works. And I realized that this is just a TV culture, a breakfast club, a something else or the other, house of life of pie, whatever, something, not life of pie. What's it called? American Pie.
American Pie,
Things
right?
like that. So I realized that it's just about helping people find the truth. The more they know, the better. So I launched a campaign of doing big, massive Christmas style Eid festivals in parks. Christmas is there and it's campaigned heavily. Lots of money is spent on it. Billions of dollars a
Hmm.
year is spent on it. And Christmas was actually quite dead. It was practiced only by the most religious Christians that attended the church late at night for mass, and that's it. It was never a party. It was never presents. It was never
Right.
gifts. It was never nothing. It was only 200 years ago that Coca-Cola made it massive. So we launched this idea of Eid, which was for 1,000 years, it used to be massive. But then after the Ottoman Empire fell, things changed. Eid became something in the background. So we brought it back to tackle Islamophobia. And the way we did it was we brought big fun fair rides, carnival rides, fireworks, food, ice cream, works, massive park, and then bring out the Muslims and let them mingle with everyone else. And everyone else shows up thinking they're coming to a carnival. They walk in and they see Muslims and it's different. They're like, wow, what's this? And there's no alcohol. And it's a somber atmosphere and it's auspicious. And we get people taking Shahada. It removes Islamophobia, it tackles that. Abdurrahman, let me know if you're ready. I wanted to just play a quick clip. They've got an advert they want us to play about this because we do need everyone, brothers and sisters out there, realize that, there's a lot of brothers like Brother Richard that Allah just chooses and guides them and opens the door. But there are millions of people out there that, out of which a few hundred will reach people like me and you, and they'll learn about Islam. But the vast majority of others will never know unless we make an effort and make it easy for them. Abdurrahman, are we ready? Okay, never mind. I thought you were speaking of Jannah. I was told you were going to play something. So let me know when you're ready if you want to play something. In the meanwhile, I'm going to go straight into this next bit of my questioning, which is about Islamophobia. So But right before we get into this, one last question about this. After you went to the mosque, read the Quran, and you started to read, what happened? What was the spiritual click? I'm still waiting for that.
Well, relating back to Christianity, like I said, been to church, all that, was involved, but it never touched me. You'll hear people say, "Well, the Bible touches them, right? It touches them, it gives them something, right?" And they feel, I don't know what they feel, but it basically it touches them, changes their life. Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying anything bad about Christianity whatsoever. I'm not, I'm definitely not doing that. I would never do that. But it never did that for me. I've read the Bible. It never did that for me. I left, when I walk away from the Bible after I read it, I was like, well, that's a pretty good story. That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
But when I read the Quran,
Yeah.
it made sense, and it touched me. And that's when I made a decision that I have to be a part of this. This is my future. And so I went back to 8 weeks. Get this, 8 weeks from the first day I stepped foot in that Islamic center. I went back to take Shahada,
Wow.
and this is
8 weeks.
hilarious.
8 weeks in total.
Mm-hmm.
Was that 8 weeks of going back and forth? You went in a few times, asked more questions?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right, mashallah. Just a quick salams to Muhammad Malik, MAX, Aisha. Thank you very much for your comments. A lot of questions have come in. Kath Amato, I don't know what that is. CIA controls films, control your thinking. Okay, thank you. Kashif Dar says Platoon, Full Metal Jacket was filmed at Basenberg Barracks outside of Cambridge. Okay, thank you. Kashif's here. He's in Cambridge, actually, so you would know. Aisha says, thank you so much for sharing. Beautiful story. Another comment is, Salam alaikum. We have questions for you. Okay, we'll come back to all your questions, guys. I promise. So 8 weeks of going back and forth, and then you embraced Islam, or you wanted to embrace Islam. Tell me how you did it.
Well, I went in and I went up to two of the older gentlemen that I'd become very friendly with, and I went to them. I said, brothers, can I talk to you for a second? And I looked at them. They were standing side by side, and I says, I want to take my Shahada today. And they smiled at me. And this is a true story. They smiled at me. They looked at each other, and then they both looked back at me, and they says, nah. And I was like, what? I'm thinking, great. Now they don't even want me. And but the reason was, it was legit. They said, brother, you have more you need to learn. And I said, well, I would never deny that. But we all have things we need to learn. And with that, they kind of looked at each other again, and they was like, all right, let's go.
My advice here is very important to every imam, every clergy, every scholar, every mosque. If a person knows absolutely nothing and they say to you, I want to be a Muslim, it is so wrong of you to even hesitate, because it's not up to you. When a person is guided by Allah Most High, it's not about knowledge. It's about guidance in the heart. So when someone says, I want to be a Muslim, even if it's a hypocrite or a spy or an honest, sincere person, it makes no difference. It is obligatory to grant them their Shahada there and then. So
and that goes into the very meaning of why we can't say this person's not a Muslim, because we don't know what's in their heart. Yeah. That's why. Yeah. Even though we may not like their actions, we don't know what's in their heart when they took Shahada. So we can't say that.
I think it's important, because for us as Muslims to do our part to change the narrative about us, this is really important. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. Let me play this clip quickly.
Okay.
Are you ready for us, please?
One God, one creed.
One Eid is a Sunnah revival. What does that mean? The Eid festival is something so beautiful, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he arrived in the city of Yathrib and he became Madinatul Munawwara, he saw the people, they were celebrating a festival twice a year. He said, "What is this?" And the people said, "We've been doing this for a long time. It's part of our culture and tradition." He ﷺ said, "Let us move them. Let us have one on Eid al-Fitr and one on Eid al-Adha." And these festivals, Allahu Akbar, was a way for the Prophet ﷺ to show the beauty and the power and the might of Islam to everyone around. And then in the festivities, he included people of all walks of life, all faiths together. And this was a beautiful form of da'wah which spread from the Jazeera to Spain to China. So one Eid is all about reviving that sunnah.
One guide, our Nabi, one Ummah.
So you might wonder that Eid and one Eid, why is that so important? Why is it so important to us? And why have people like myself dedicated 20 years to establishing the Sunnah revival in the UK, in Europe, and many other countries? The reason is simple. My brothers and sisters in Islam, right now Muslims and people, other faiths around the world love the concept of Christmas. Why do they love it? Because it is marketing, it is advertising, it is beautifully presented with the bright colors and the sweets and the family time and the dinners and the love and the compassion and gift giving. This is what Eid used to be. Christmas is no more than a couple of 100 years old, the festivities of it. But Eid, for over 1,000 years, was celebrated by Christians, Jews, Muslims, everyone around the world twice a year.
We actually built an outdoor
again,
beach there,
the way it was done in the days of the Prophet,
massive stage,
the way it was done in the days of the Sahaba, the way it was done by the Ottoman Empire throughout the Islamic empires. What will happen? People around the world will know how beautiful your deen and you and your family are, and the media and others could no longer lie about your faith. It is the most beautiful form of da'wah. It is a way to reach out to our neighbors. When the Prophet ﷺ said, your neighbors have rights over you, 40 houses in every direction, this is how you reach all of them. Eid, twice a year.
One deen, one day, our destiny.
One Eid also offers an excellent platform to so many other projects. Not only have we revived the Sunnah in many cities around the world, but subhanAllah, massive charities, relief charities, charities for orphans, charities for widows, charities in da'wah, charities building mosques, charity building schools. They have all been able to see the people come together in Eid, and they've been able to raise funds, more importantly, awareness about their projects. 30,000, 60,000, 300,000 people in various parks around the world. They have now heard these projects, they have funded them, and they have established them. Allahu Akbar. So when you ask me, or anyone asks you, why is one Eid so important? What does it do for all of our local community projects? It builds and establishes them. One simple way to know this: look at the small stall holders, small marketplace shops. On the days of Eid, they now make good money so they can feed their families. It is halal rizq, a beautiful form of rizq for them. And one Eid establishes that for many small businesses, and many of them have grown with one Eid, mashallah.
One Jummah, one plea, one call for unity.
So where is this going? Where are we going with this project? We aim to have 1 million Muslims outside praying Eid Salah, so that 50 million around us can see us in every park around the country. Okay, so we'll come back to your moments of you were saying. So you're saying this video, I don't know how much of it you could see because it was a little choppy for me, but this video is a presentation of what the project's done, bringing people together into a park, letting them get to know each other. I think globally, that's what's needed. The vision of the charity project we started back in 2003, 2004, was I realized after September 11th that things were going to get really bad really fast. I was always observing the sociological situation, etc. So I felt that, you know what, it's time for me to just think about how I'm going to help people understand and overcome hatred. Not just the Muslims to protect themselves, but the non-Muslims how not to hate. How to realize this is no different than the racism and the slavery system of about 100, 200 years ago, not too long ago, where it was people were made to feel black people just weren't even human. So you know, they even had tests in universities in Europe just to see if they were human. They weren't sure if they were. Yeah. And this dehumanization is what was happening to Muslims. And I realized, like I said, 97, 98, I saw it coming. And then when September 11th happened, I was in shock. And I thought, that wasn't OBL. That wasn't Afghanistan. That wasn't Iraq. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about politics and stuff, but some things are just blatantly, obviously don't make sense. But you know what? For me, a dumb American that grew up watching Red Dawn and Iron Eagle, yeah, whatever you say. If you say it was them, it was them. A guy in a cave with a cell phone did this. So, anyways, moving on from that, I realized that the hatred was going to grow, and there's an intentional agenda that I saw here in London from the government. Many MPs, many people here in the UK were doing the same thing, creating hatred. Muslim, Islamics, Muslim fundamentalists, this, that, whatnot. Islamic mosque. He was a Muslim. She was a Muslim. He was a Muslim. He was trying to be a Muslim. It was nonstop. Everything was Muslim and Islam. So I realized that we needed to bring people together to make a difference and do something about it right now. And when we launched this campaign, I sat with a lady named Claire over at in central London. It was a special consulting company for launching charities. And when I explained the whole project, we came out with this vision statement that we believe people need to get to know each other in order to achieve peace and unity. And in a nutshell, that was it. People need to get to know each other in order to achieve peace and unity. That was a good 10 years of research, pulling, digging. How do we do this? 2005, 7, 9, everything changed. Eid festivals around the country. We started helping people around the country. We brought people out of their shells. And then in America, all my friends back in California and LA, my relatives in Texas and Florida, and then up in Canada, Toronto, Montreal, all the way to Vancouver. We started doing these Eid festivals everywhere. Now New Zealand, Australia, Tanzania, and Africa, many African countries, Belgium, France, Germany. And as Eid festivals popped up, I saw the hatred kind of swell down. The people who were preaching hatred couldn't rile up the communities as much.
Sure.
If that makes sense. So that's what we're about. So brothers and sisters, you see the posts on the links in the chats. Please click on the link and watch the video and figure out what the project's about. Ask questions if you like. So here's some of the questions that have come forward to you so far, Brother Richard. The first one was, what did you see or hear that drove you to start hating Muslims? And I think we said that in a way, but we didn't clarify. So they want to know, was there any one thing you could say?
No, there definitely was not any one thing. It was just a manifestation over time, really. Yeah, exactly.
There's just too much Muslims around, especially at the shoe store.
But yeah, oh gosh, yes.
Is there let's see, do you feel that America currently is becoming more and more a racist country?
Wow, that is a good question. That is a really good question.
But I think that question is probably a bit loaded from the past year or two. So
yeah, I mean, you can definitely say yes, but I mean, overall, you'd probably have to say yes because even though there's there's many incidents that you can refer to say no, there is a multiple more that you can definitely use to say yes. I think the yeses would outweigh the no's. Yeah. And that's my personal feeling. That's me personally as a white guy with white privilege. And that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I personally think that sometimes things need to get worse before they can get better. And LA 2000s, I was telling everyone things are going to get bad. And they said, no, they want. I said, yeah, they're going to get bad.
It was 93, or was it? Yeah, it was 93. LA 93 or 94.
Who are you talking about? Oh, the riots. Yeah, 93.
Oh,
93.
Yeah, the Rodney King beating and then the riots. Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, I lived in California at the time. Not in LA though, but whew.
Those riots were a shock for me. I'd never seen anything like that in the States before.
Yeah.
I was pretty sad. I still to this day remember that vivid picture, that image. That truck driver, remember?
Oh yeah.
On the street. That was the worst thing I had ever seen I just thought, oh wow, that truck driver, they grabbed him out in the street and what they did to him and they smashed his head. I thought, wow. I hope I think he survived that. I don't think he
He
died.
did. He did. He actually ended up forgiving both of the
Yeah, he was
guys.
a very
That
forgiving man.
attacked him. Yeah.
I prayed for that guy. I was so touched by
Yeah.
him. I wonder where he is now, but he was very forgiving. He's like he understood. He's like, I get it. The blacks were angry and black people were angry. I get it. But you know what? To a degree, you look at the poor neighborhoods and the poor communities. There are a lot of black people. They're like, no, just because we're black doesn't excuse this behavior. So it's every community. Every tree's got rotten apples. So, but there is a racism. But I think knowing the country like I do, and I used to travel around a lot, knowing the people in like Baton Rouge or in Beaumont and Orange County, places like that. I loved going to those kind of places. Knowing the country folks that would just invite me in and give me some, something like ribs and mashed potatoes or something. That was just a normal thing. I had so much fun. Gumbo. Oh, that was so much fun. But what I found at that table while sitting there breaking bread is there was a lot of sincerity behind a very ignorant speech. There was a lot of ignorant speech, but behind it was a lot of good heart and good love. If you could just find a way to communicate it, because that's all it is. It's just an ignorant upbringing. And they don't mean anything bad by it in the weirdest sense. I don't know how else.
Well, no. Yeah. It's like, how can you be prejudiced but not mean anything by it? But yeah, I see it. It's not my generation, but the generation before mine. That's how they are, especially the people who come from what is referred to as a rural or country societies. My grandparents the same way. My grandparents, some of the most racist people I've ever seen. I loved them to death, but they just were. That's where they came from.
Well, that if they knew they were racist, they wouldn't be.
No, exactly.
If they knew they were racist, they just wouldn't be. But there are some, don't get me wrong, there are some pretty damn racist people that like racism and want to be racist. There are some that they choose to be evil, but the vast majority of people that we would call racist are not. Like me, for example, I've said some things that people have called me anti-Semitic. And I have a lot of Jewish friends. My boss is a Jewish rabbi. But I've said things and people say you're anti-Semitic. I'm like, no, I think you're just kind of twisting me up. If I knew I was anti-Semitic, I would just say, no, I don't want to be. So I wouldn't want to be anti any type of people. But what I have said are things about Israel and Zionism and the Israeli government, what they do, how they treat the Palestinians. So I've said things like that. That makes me anti-Semitic. I don't know. That sounds a bit of a blackmail trick there, if you ask me. Because
I've been, people have said similar stuff about me not being anti-Semitic, but the fact that they've told me that, well, you just hate Jews. And I was like, no, I do not. I said, in the big picture of religions, we're cousins with the Jews.
Absolutely. Well, if you look at it this way, remember the bad Muslims, the bad ones. So when you look at the bad Muslims, for example, it makes people say, you're the reason why I hate Islam, etc. Fair enough. Okay. So if I was as cruel and as cynical and as stupid as you, I would probably say, well, you're the reason why I'd hate Jews. But I don't. I don't hate Jews. I have nothing against Jewish people. It's just I find it a very trick. It's like a very tricky thing. It's like anything you're going to say critical, you're automatically anti-Semitic, etc. And the same applies to Muslims. Everything is not Islamophobic. There may be something bad that needs to be pointed out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We are not above reproach. Absolutely not. Our religion's perfect. The people who make it up are not. And that's it.
Well, technically, the Jews were Muslims once upon a time, if you ask me.
Well, technically, yeah.
To me, they're my brothers because the people of Moses were Muslims to me. That means if a Jewish person takes it offensively, then just take it the opposite. I was one of you then, because I would have followed Moses to the end of the sea. That's how I mean it. I don't mean it offensively. How did you feel, Richard, how did your family feel about you converting to Islam?
Oh, that's a rather long story. First off, my wife it's very funny because she's a very good-hearted person, and she would get upset basically when I would get upset, even though she, because we would actually argue about it. I'm like, all Muslims are bad. And she's like, no, not all are bad. There's some good people too, just like any other religion. There's good and there's bad. And so I all of a sudden she knows I don't like Muslims. She had no idea about my plan because of course I'm like a normal husband. I don't tell my wife anything.
Right.
And
I just got that.
she hates that, man.
That's
She does. Why didn't you tell me? Well, but anyway,
Oh, is that what that stuff was? It was a
yeah.
bomb?
Well, see, and that's just it. When I because I didn't want anybody else involved. I was very stingy about this because I
Hmm.
wanted absolutely every bit of credit coming my way.
Okay.
I did this.
Mhm.
Nobody's help.
Mm.
And all the stuff I had was at a third location. I didn't keep it around the house. Who does that? It doesn't make any sense, man. You know? So but she was getting nervous, man. She's getting very anxious because here I am, this guy who hates Muslims
Yeah.
is spending all day reading the Quran, has watching YouTube videos all day. Oh my gosh, he's planning something.
This was '08 you said, right? Or '09?
Well, this would have been '09 because this is
'09.
when I started looking and yeah, the plan actually started sometime in late '07
Yeah.
up to the point I actually went to the mosque. Yes.
Okay.
Um, so so uh so anyway, and I'm going to the Islamic Center all the time. So she doesn't get this because I just tell her I said I'm just trying to figure this Islam thing out.
Yeah.
And so she kind of left it at that. Well, of course, that Friday I plan to take Shahada again, not telling her about it.
Oh, she didn't know.
No,
Okay.
she had a clue, man.
Oh my
Like I
God.
said, husbands don't tell their wives anything. So I ain't tell her that. So I come home and I plop down on the couch, like it's got back from a hard day's work, right? Big old smile on my face. And she goes, "So everything went well?" I said, "Yeah, it was a great day." I said, "I became a Muslim." She goes, "You what? You did
Is that how you
what?"
told her? Is that what you said?
Yeah. She goes, "You did
It's like,
what?"
honey, I shrunk the kids. Honey, I
Yeah.
became a Muslim.
I said, "Yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
I took my Shahada today." And she goes, "You should what?
You sure what? You sure
You
what?
should what?" So, again, I tried to explain the Shahada as best I could.
Yeah.
And she was starting to get mad. I mean, really mad. Because now all those phobias and all those
Came true.
the ignorant stuff was coming through her
Yeah.
because she looked at me and she said, "I'm gonna tell you something right now. I'm not wearing anything on my head." And I said, "Well, you're not a Muslim, so that's really not even a discussion right now. Unless you
Well,
want
even
to. I mean, if you want to, go ahead."
well, even as Muslims, even as a Muslim, it's up to them.
Yeah, it's up to them. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's we was talking whatever a little bit longer, and then she stops me again, and now she's got a real mean look on her face. I mean, like a rabid bear.
Oh.
She's mean, and she points at me and she says, "And another thing, if you want more than one wife, I'm not going to be one of them."
Oh, she went right there. Yeah,
She
finish line,
did.
straight to
She
the point.
did. She did. And I was like, no, not even one time did it cross my mind.
But
Not interested.
now that you've mentioned it,
Well, and that actually comes up later. That actually comes up later.
oh,
Yeah,
jumped the gun there.
about 4 years later, that actually comes back.
Wow, you know what? I think we're going to talk about that in a minute, in about 4 minutes, maybe. So
Mhm.
right now, your family. Okay, so starting with your wife, she said what she said. I'm not covering. And how about your little girl?
She thought it was cool.
How old
She
was
thought it
she
was
then? How old was she?
she oh, 8,
Yeah,
about 8
see,
years old, probably.
kids just tell the truth, don't they? They tell it like it is, like
Actually,
it's
she's younger
supposed
than
to.
that. She's younger than that. Yeah, yeah. She even asked me one time we were sitting at a table. This is before when she was still. She thought it was neat. She thought it was neat. She
It's different.
actually ended up becoming pretty knowledgeable about Islam herself, just as
So
a
she was
little
8 at
girl.
2009.
Yeah.
That means she's 18, 19 now?
No, no. So she was, yeah, she was younger than that because she must have been about 6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
she's about
yeah,
16 now.
yeah, yeah. She's 16 now.
So
So
wow. So what? So
So
what was her take? She was like, "It's cool, it's neat." She liked it,
yeah,
kind of. My
it
my
was
daddy,
funny because we were having
my
dinner
daddy, the
one
Muslim
night.
Marine.
Yeah, and we were having dinner, and she asked me, she goes, so Dad, what is a Muslim? And so I, again, I don't have vast knowledge, but I have enough.
Hmm.
And I told her about, one God, how we, how we, the ways that we try to live our life by, being good, kind to people, and just going on and on. And she goes, "Well, I'm a Muslim." Because you see, she got the connection that really, because she, of course she's a teenager now, so she don't really have any time for dad. But
I don't know. I can't even count how many people I've met in my life while traveling. That I'm not just me. Other people I've heard loads of times. People have said they're talking to a non-Muslim and they're like, you know what, you're Muslim. You just don't know it yet. There's so many people like that.
yeah,
That they're not Muslim because of the culture, the name, the or what. I gotta get a new passport or something if I'm Muslim.
yeah, exactly.
That, but really, it's just the goodness, the natural fitra. That's why my
Yeah,
organization is called Al Fitras. The natural goodness in every person is actually to be a Muslim, not an Arab Muslim, a Pakistani Muslim,
right.
an Indian Muslim, just a believer, a good-hearted soul believer in one God, a monotheist. That's what
Hmm.
Muslim means.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So now they're asking, how about your like-minded friends? So when you came to Islam, what happened?
Well, um, I had slowly broken contact with them anyway. To be honest with you, my my friends from the past, the true friends, they're uh, they're no longer here. So, um, but the people I hung out with, stuff like that, we slowly started breaking apart anyway, because even before I became a Muslim, I had quit drinking. I quit womanizing. I just because, number one, I was getting to an age to where I was becoming a creepy old man. That's not
What
sexy.
what what age is that? What age is that, by the way?
It was, yeah, I was in my early 40s.
Early 40s is a creepy old man? Oh my God.
Well, it is when you're trying to flirt with other women that are younger than you. Yeah, that's kind of a
A lot
creepy old man.
younger.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. So any other friends, did you have any backlashes becoming Muslim?
Um,
Or supportive friends, opposite? What did you have, good or
no,
bad?
no, no, no. I ended up having to drop everybody. Number one, because our lifestyles didn't jive. Um, and number two, because there was just a point to where that you can explain yourself, but until somebody's willing to accept it, then you know it is what you have right now. And so it was okay. I was okay with it, because I knew that what I was choosing was better. So um and I mean, I feel bad that I don't have those relationships anymore. um
So you actually
but
had to break some off?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it was funny because I was actually still in the military. I was on active duty. And because I was awaiting retirement, they sent me home. I just hung out at I got attached to the National Guard here in Indiana, and I'm just waiting my active duty retirement. And so I went in after that next week, because of course I don't tell anybody at the armory. I don't tell anybody in the army anything.
Right.
So, and I went in to go get dog tags made,
Yeah.
because you have religious preference on
Yeah.
your dog tags. Now,
That's
up to
right.
that point, they had said agnostic, which is kind of like the lazy atheist
Yeah.
in a way, because he doesn't want to make the statement that no, there's no God. Well, there's a God, but I don't want to define him. So yeah, that was me. So
The lazy
and-
atheist. Never heard it
yeah,
described that way. That's a good one.
but uh, so I went in and I said I need to change religious preference on my dog tags, and he says, okay, so what are you today? That was I
Yeah.
said, well, I said hopefully longer than today, but I'm a Muslim now. And he just stopped. He's like, You're a what? I said, yeah, I'm a Muslim, man. Took my shahada. He said it too. You took your what? So I explained it to him, blah blah
Is it
blah.
taken? Is it pretty much received like 80s Cold War? I'm a communist.
Never thought of it like that.
There was such a
I could see
strong
that.
brainwashing. There was such a strong brainwashing against communism in the 70s and the 80s that anyone who was a communist, it was blasphemy. You know, you deserve to be strung up.
Yeah, rather be dead than red. I remember that was a big
Yeah,
saying.
rather be dead than red. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I find that all the evil things that were injected into my head from Afghanistan to Texas, I remember that all those things, actually, I saw them in our secret services, in our DOJ, in our CIA. We did those things. All the things that I was told about Afghanistan, why I was not growing up in that country, why I am now an American, why everything's different. Because I remember, to a 6-year-old kid at that time, I didn't care if I was on the moon. I have no idea, as long as my friends had the same coloring book or something like that, you know? So I was too young to know. But I think that's what it was. I think it's very similar to saying I'm a communist. But the beauty here is communism was directly in conflict with us and democracy, etc. But Islam is not. Islam is very much welcoming to all ideas and societies, and live and let live. It always has been.
Well, and you know, and I think that's a good point. I never looked at it like the communist thing, but yeah, absolutely. And like I've been drilled with the question a few times that, you know, well, so how do you you know, so how do you explain ISIS? How do you explain Al Qaeda? I says, well, it's not hard actually. I says those groups claim to be Islamic movements.
Mm.
And in maybe some kind of far out science fiction world they are. But do you know who created those organizations? And they said, well, yeah, Bin Laden and that one guy. No, brother, they did not.
USA, USA,
Yes, I
USA.
said yes.
You know,
I said
it's like the
we
boss. You know, the
established
boss.
Al Qaeda because we trained them to fight the Russians.
Yeah.
And then we just left because we had no use for them anymore.
I still haven't figured out who gets to decide what they're labeled. It's like a boy band. They used to be called freedom fighters, then they were mujahideen, and then they became Al Qaeda, then they became ISIS, they became Daesh, they became there's another kind of ISIS as well. There's two kinds of ISIS. IS, that's it. There was ISIS, then there was. It's constantly rebranding. I'm just wondering, is there an actual body of people amongst them that sit there in an office and they think we're not doing too well this year? Let's rebrand and get
Yeah, it
another
was
name.
rebranded. I honestly, to be honest, I probably there probably is because you know, in the scheme of things, the way they do it,
Yeah.
they do have to be marketable because they have to recruit people. They, you know,
Yeah, but no, that's not true, because they don't need that name for the Muslims to come to them. Getting
no.
recruiting, I think those names are made up by Hollywood. I think they're made up at the White House. It just doesn't make any sense. As a Muslim, I can tell you, I would not have a brand name. It's counterproductive to my goal, because our goal is to say, we're Muslims, come join us together, brotherhood. But if I put a flag on me, Muslims are like, no, I don't want to be part of that flag. I'm the Muslim flag. I don't need to be limited. So
Yeah.
that's counterproductive. So that's how I know it's a farce.
Well, yeah.
It's actually a propaganda tool, because the people there on the ground, let me tell you who they are, whether they're in Iraq or Afghanistan, wherever. They are people who were part of Saddam's army, for example. Just take Iraq, for example. Army was all taken on board. Sell out Saddam. We'll hire you. You'll be the new army for Iraq. And I forget what the senator's name was. He signed a treaty. He signed a declaration. And one day, bam, fired all of them. You had 1 million men who didn't have jobs all of a sudden. They were no longer army officers. They were no longer part of the government. And now you've got a gigantic pool of recruits for anything and everything else, to save their women, to save their houses, to save food or whatever, from each other, even from the crazies that were amongst themselves, whatever the situation.
Oh, yeah.
It was next level craziness to get to become what they are. Same thing in Sudan, same thing in where else, man? All over. Same thing everywhere. It's just a vacuum when you have people that are in poverty. It's easy to recruit. When people
Well,
are,
and as you kind of touched on in the beginning of our talk, even
mm,
this is really, America can't take full credit. This is I've said this many times. It's not necessarily just America. It's Western civilization has done this.
oh yeah,
You know, uh, the Sudan. That's a perfect example. That was all about oil. The reason we don't, well, it may be other reasons by now, but uh, the Ottoman Empire. That was all due to Western civilization because they said, no, we're going to make you guys into countries and then we're going to make you guys hate each other so we can get this oil cheap.
yeah. Well, it
And
wasn't
that's
just
what happened.
hate them; it was colonialism. So they split them up, and Algeria
Yeah,
was given to France, and what you call it was Libya was given to Italy, and they were all like puppet governments and controlled, and people were enslaved. It was horrible what they did
it
since
was. It was.
World War I, World War II. During those times, like 2.5 million Muslims that died in the World War as well. Not to mention that. But there's a lot of interesting political games played. Put that aside. What I don't want, that news, that information, that conspiracy, all of that. What I don't want that to do is to make us and them. There is just us.
Yes.
That's my message to the whole world. The governments of all the countries, they are there to serve us. And they can easily be corrected if we correct ourselves. If we
No, you're
become
absolutely right.
intelligent, if we study and we learn, there is just us. There is no one else. It's just one human race.
Yep.
And that's what I
Absolutely.
want to get at. So another question to you, my friend.
Mhm.
This one says, since being Muslim, what has been your favorite thing?
I have learned to like being around people. I really have. I used to be very closed off. And now, especially because this coronavirus hit, I was gone every weekend to a different city, different state, um, all over the country. And this thing hit, and it kind of put that all to a stop. And it's just so. I mean, in some ways, it's kind of surreal to go out and just meet all these Muslims that they would take me in because now I'm one of them, and they take me in as like a member of their family.
Amen, brother.
It's incredible, man. It just really is. You know, um,
That's what the American people, European people, a lot of people, not just American, European, a lot of people are missing out on. It's one of the things I loved, how forgiving, forbearing, welcoming Muslims generally are. And when we say Muslim, not Arab, not Pakistani, you could be Chinese, you could be Black African, you could be Japanese, you could be Malaysian, Indonesian. See, that's the thing that most people don't realize. The highest population of Muslims in the world is in Indonesia and Malaysia. They're not in
mhm.
Saudi Arabia. Saudi
Yeah,
Arabia is something like 13%. It's tiny versus the rest of the world. The Muslims are masses all around the world, and there's white Muslims, American Muslims, in fact. There's like millions of American Muslims in the country, and Islam has always been there. It's always been there, and it's available for everyone to learn and get close to. And that's why Muslims, me, we love people like you, Richard, not because you're white or black or Chinese, but we love you because we know Allah loves you because you were given a divine guidance. You were chosen,
hmm
handpicked. You weren't raised, you weren't raised Muslim, so to speak. You were given that as a gift from God, and we appreciate that. So we have a lot of love for you, Richard.
thank you, thank you.
I think another question is,
Mm.
um, how do you think, sorry, how important do you feel dawah or calling people to Islam or teaching about Islam, fighting Islamophobia? How important do you feel that is right now?
Uh, wow. Um, I've never been, and this is funny because I never saw myself as doing dawah whenever I go speak, and it was explained to me that that's exactly what it is, and I was like, wow, really? Okay. Um, before I really understood what Dawah was really all about, I didn't like it. I didn't like it because it seemed like,
Evangelical?
eh, well, that I was actually thinking more in terms of like a used car salesman. I just didn't like that, man. I didn't like going out trying to sell this religion, and that's
I
the way
don't
I
like
felt it
that either.
was.
Not in that
Yeah,
regard. Yeah.
yeah, and see, and I really didn't understand the true essence of Dawah and what it was, and you know, again, our job is not to make more Muslims. That's not our job. That's
Amen.
between the person and Allah.
That's right.
But I think what we're the ambassadors to speak truth to overcome ignorance. Now, by overcoming that ignorance, one, they can become Muslim. Two, they can just become better people because there's a certain amount of hate that will be rid from their life.
Yeah.
Because now, because they don't have the ignorance anymore, it's going to be hard to support that hate. So, I think Dawah is extremely important. I think it's important to our future. Um, and because of the impact from governments, from organizations such as your racist groups,
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that. I mean, it worried me the other day. I saw in the news here in America. Understand we have very liberal gun laws, and I agree with the Second Amendment. I think the Second Amendment is good to a point.
The right to bear arms. Yeah.
Yes, but
Mm.
should you own a machine gun? No, you should not own a machine gun. No. Should you have a bomb in your garage? No, you don't need that. It's you go hunt with a bomb. What the heck? But anyway, um,
Militias have always had this craze about the right to bear arms, but he always went to the next level. But you know what? Eventually,
yeah,
where do you draw the line? Do you go nuclear? I mean, where do you draw the
well,
line?
that's
Where do
just
you
it.
say
See,
does it?
but I saw these guys when the protest in Michigan about to open up the government again.
Yeah,
People are sick of being quarantined, right?
yeah,
And there was armed citizens in the state house, in the house where walls are made. There was armed citizens. That worries me because that gives me a picture of things to come. And maybe I'm just looking at it from a totally just dark place. Maybe I am, and I hope I am,
yeah.
because this is also an election year. And I will guarantee you that the majority, I would bet my next paycheck, if I was allowed to gamble, I would bet my next paycheck that 98% of those people were all Trump supporters.
Yeah, yeah.
That scares me, man.
It is scary because I'm a believer in the Second Amendment. I am. I think when things are evil and really bad, this is what I believe. The Americas were established and built upon the need for freedom for many people. And when the forefathers wrote the Constitution, and we had the Second Amendment put in, and it was thought through, and they
Mhm.
agreed that they needed to do this, fine. It was a necessary tool to fight the evil of that time. What people fail to realize is the Constitution is a man-written document. Man is full of crap, pretty much. Man makes mistakes. Man says all kinds of stuff. For us to take that and raise it above a Bible or above a God-written book, it just shows our level of ignorance. But at that time, what they thought was necessary happened. Today, you have people shooting each other for biscuits and a watch or a phone. So yeah, it might be smart to put in a new amendment saying no one's allowed guns for a little while until we learn the value of life. Because back then, they understood the value of life to the point where they were willing to die to protect it. They weren't dying for freedom. They were
No,
dying to
no.
protect their
Well,
family.
we've had several cases here in the United States where people have gotten shot that were at work because they told somebody to put on a mask and that person shot them. I kid you not, it's in the news. Look it up. My gosh, can you? I can't believe a less acknowledgement of the
Wow.
value of life than that. Someone was asking you to put on a mask because they want you to wear a mask in their business, and you shoot them.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely.
I think
It,
that's just amazing because right now I'm in a position where, well, we need to just do we have a lot of work to do. We need to help everybody. We need to overcome hatred. We need to bring people together. And I got a couple last questions for you, and I'll let you say a few words from yourself, whatever you'd like to share with the viewers. Um, how do you think white terrorists are treated compared to Muslim terrorists today?
oh yeah, there's no comparison. There's no comparison. Um, White terrorists are not even you. Or 99.9% of the time, the word terrorist is not even used in the context when it's white. Period. And I have seen some lawmakers actually come out and say this was terrorism. So they have started to acknowledge it, but it's already been passed. I actually wrote a paper when I was in college, and it was published in a peace journal that was hard for me to get published because I was comparing Christopher Columbus with ISIS.
Say that last bit again. I didn't hear it.
I was comparing Christopher Columbus to ISIS.
Okay. Okay.
And so the title of it was Christopher Columbus was a terrorist. Finally got it published, but with the title being Was Christopher Columbus a terrorist?
Question mark. Ding.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I still got it published. I had to change the title, and
That's
there's
not
some
bad.
wording
That's not
that had to
bad.
be
That's
changed.
not bad. It does the job, man. It does the job. We can be polite. No problem.
Yeah.
If
So,
it was a Muslim, Omar Sharif was a terrorist. So was his child who wasn't born yet. It's allowed. No problem.
right.
You can publish that without any question. But the guy's name was Christopher, so it might have been white. So we got to put a question mark.
Well, I think he would be more tan.
Yeah, I think so too, because he was more
Yeah,
Spanish,
more
wasn't he?
tan. Yeah, so he wasn't a white guy, but and see, people don't even know what was all centered around that year, 1492. We don't have time to get into all the history and stuff. That year was pretty dramatic for the Muslims anyway, and the Jews.
Oh, the
And
Spanish Inquisition.
yes, and the whole purpose of him coming to the Americas was to get money to fund a new crusade. That was it.
That's true, because he was out
Yeah.
for gold. He was looking for gold. He
Yeah.
needed to fund a new crusade. Hey, Richard, on that note, why don't we schedule another day when it's good for you? One of these. I'm here every single night right now. This is in
Okay.
isolation with Jalal ibn Saeed. And we could do another night and just do a history lesson. What do you say?
Hey, that's fine with me.
I think the more we enlighten, educate people about our roots, the Russian writer Alexander said, you want to destroy a people, just sever them from their roots. Make them forget who they are. And they're bound to repeat history again and again and again. Last question was, let me see, sorry. Islamophobia, importance of dawah, Eid. I was asked to mention about the Eid project. How does Eid combat Islamophobia? Okay, fine. I'll just be very brief because it's not about that. Eid, once upon a time, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, came to Medina. When he first arrived, they were celebrating two festivals. And he said, what is this? They said, this is cultural. We've been doing it for a long time. He said, well, can you move the dates? Put one on Eid al-Fitr, one on Eid al-Adha, the two Eid feasts of Muslims. And he said, this is your festival. From that day, when he did the first Eid event, everyone came out for Eid. He locked the door of the mosque. And he said to people, no, you can't go into the mosque. So on the morning of Eid, he made everyone go out to the open field. And he said, by the way, the women don't generally come to the mosque. Bring the women out. And then he said, and a lot of families, the young girls, they hide them because they don't want people looking. Tell them to bring them out. And a lot of women who are on their menses, monthly menstrual cycle, they avoid the places of worship. Tell them to come. We'll facilitate an area for them. No one is exempt. They must all attend and let them have a wonderful time and let everyone see and let them get to know each other. This was the festival of Eid celebrated by Prophet Muhammad himself. and he gave the festivities, and then every year they did this twice a year. And then Islam spread and started to go everywhere. People around the world started to hear about the Eid festival. And the Eid festival became a big thing, like today, Christmas. Around the world, people buy Christmas presents. Even if they're not Christian, they don't care. It's Christmas.
Yeah.
But Eid was the same thing back then. For 1,000 years, the world knew Islam. They knew Arabic. They learned Arabic. They learned about Islam. They learned about the Quran because of three things: Eid, which was commerce and trade; honesty. Muslims were the most honest people in the world back then. I have to say, Muslims, shape up. You're an embarrassment if you ever tell a lie. It's just not heard of once upon a time that a Muslim should lie. A Muslim does not lie. You can commit all kinds of mistakes, but you don't lie. So, yeah, go on, correct. So Muslims do not lie. Number three was the kindness, generosity, hospitality, smiles, looking good, well dressed, polite, etc. So now you take Eid in the park, the way we've done it according to the Prophet's methodology, and you're now doing exactly the same thing to your non-Muslim neighbors. You're doing the exact same thing. You're giving them a chance to have fun, have food. You're in a hand above position. They're able to sell. They're able to make money. And now all the grocery stores are selling Ramadan products and Eid products, so they're making money. Businesses and advertisements, they're making money. They realized Eid is something they can benefit from, and that means Muslims are important to us. And now let's get to know them. Oh, wow, they dress kind of nice. They have nice things, nice culture. And now all of a sudden you're in a good position to make da'wah. Eid is about tackling Islamophobia at the heart, at grassroots. And we get people taking shahadas every year when they do come. So with that, I hope that answers that question. Jazakallah khair. I'm just reading the last one. Thank you so much. Okay, someone is asking on Facebook. Dear Richard, Jazakallah khairan for coming. Was it difficult for you to become the chairman or to be in the senior position at the Islamic Center? I think they didn't hear that it's MSA. It's not Islamic.
Well, I was the president of the Islamic Center too. That's.
Oh, was it difficult? They're asking. Was it difficult for you to do that?
They came to me. They came to me. I was just like blown away that they would even consider me, but they came to me.
After how many years of being Muslim?
I was 3 years, three and a half, something like that. Yeah.
3.5 years of being Muslim, and they decided, you know what? I think your personality, your character, your intelligence, your strength, or whatever they saw in you, they thought, we're going to ask Richard to be the chairman of the mosque, yes, or the Islamic Center. Yes. That's incredible. That's incredible that Allah chose to elevate you in rank like that, not just in the next life, but here amongst us. And okay, that's it. I have a few more questions. I'm going to hold off to our next historical lesson that we may have. But Richard, please, if you have any questions for me, I'll give you 5 minutes to say what you like, or a message, or you want to ask me something. Feel very welcome. I have a lot of love for you already, Richard. We got a lot more in common than we realized. Both are military. We kind of wanted to run away or get away from our peer pressures in high school days. I had my own way of running away. But it's interesting.
No, I just with me, things are slow starting. With me, we have started work on a book, and the guy who produced The Secret Life of Muslims, the thing that started all this, he has got the funding now to create a longer version of that. He's going to be coming here to Indiana to film. We're going to make a longer show, like 20 minutes, half hour, instead of the 5.5 minutes it was.
Wow. Okay.
But it really, my whole thing is, I mean, I don't mind telling my story. I know it does people good to hear, but really, what the takeaway from the whole thing is, for each individual that has a prejudice, I don't care whether it's against Jews, against the Muslims, against Muslims against Christians, because we know we have that, I hope someday to be able to travel to India. I want to talk to the government in India. I want to sit down as a Muslim and have a conversation. Yeah. And it really is just because we need to stop this hatred. it serves no purpose. It is a waste of energy because right now is a perfect example. We have coronavirus, but
Yeah,
if we didn't have hatred in the world
yeah,
and all the governments, even if they were separate entities, all work together because now we don't have prejudice. Oh well, you're French, I can't talk to you, or oh well, you're from Saudi Arabia, I am not talking to you. If we all came together, this thing would not have lasted a week
yeah.
because we have too many intelligent people in the world that if they were able to come together and work, we would have had this done and over with. No doubt. No doubt. And to be honest with you, I think the same thing about all the diseases. They've all been done. But because we can't do that, because of our sense of strong nationalism, because of our sense of pride and where we're from or what we believe.
I think that part what you just said has got a lot to do with Orwell's 1984, and I think his writing were genius, with communism, Cold War before that, Hitler, Nazism, and then the Cold War with the Russians. And we know that there was a lot of prophecy amongst such people that said that Islam would be the next target. There always has to be a boogeyman. There always needs to be hatred.
Yeah.
Even though the skin color and even facial features of Russians and Europeans and Americans, the white elitists, they look the same. They probably belong to the same family. So it's just odd that why are they so split and divided? And one thing I have realized in my age, traveling and living as long as I have so far, the one thing I've realized is that there is a need. Orwell was right. There is a need. You need your people to fear the other people, while the two leaders probably go out to have a beer once in a while. They're probably absolutely fine with each other, but they need their countries to fear each other so that the people can be controlled to an extent. And that's what scares me, because governments need to realize that you don't need to do that. Your people love you. Your people want to support you. You do not need to deceive them and lie to them and make them hate each other for the sake of control. They think that's the only way to rule because that has been the method of rule for thousands of years, except by Muslims, except by Islam. Sorry, not Muslims. Muslims are just as bad. Sorry, by Islam, except by when Islam truly ruled the world, that wasn't the case. And because we don't need to do that, you tell the truth, the people will love you for it and they will support you. And I think that's the biggest issue that people have right now. They feel very untrusting of their government bodies, and whatever country they're in, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Everyone feels the same in every single country. But
I have one last thing, if you don't mind,
yeah,
brother. And
not
this
at
is
all.
something I think you could actually speak volumes on yourself because of your of what you do with the One Eid.
Mm.
A brother came to me one time at the masjid, and he goes, Brother Richard, it's been a while since 9/11, and throughout the world, people, Muslims have proven that there's good in us. That we're not all the boogeyman. We're not all terrorists. But why is it Americans still hate us? And he was just using that because we're here. It's not just America, but
Yeah.
Um, and I looked at him and I says, "Well, the answer's pretty easy, actually." He says, "Really?" I said, "Well, you're not going to like it, though." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, the reason why they still hate us, it's your fault."
Yep.
He's like, "I didn't do anything." Exactly. You didn't do anything. So we're letting 1% of 2 billion, give or take a couple,
Yeah.
speak for the rest of us, man.
Amen.
No.
That's right. And you're right when you're spot on when you said I could speak volumes on this subject, because it was 2002, 2003, right after September 11th. I was campaigning up and down Europe, and I was telling Muslims everywhere, wake up, engage right now. And I said, and do what? Talk to your neighbor. Oh, but that. Talk to your neighbor. Get to know people around you. Do it. And the more I said it, the more I felt like the storm got bigger and bigger. My voice got smaller and smaller, and it just blew out of proportion. And then the bombings in Europe happened, and then more hatred happened, and I just didn't have a voice. And that's when I decided, how do I make the Muslims realize the only thing you can do is talk to your neighbor? That's it. There's millions of Muslims. If everyone spoke to 5, 6 new neighbors every week, in less than a year, the media would have no hope or no chance of lying about who you are, because the public would say no. I remember a film came out. This guy, he said, "My name is Khan and I'm not a terrorist." It was some Bollywood film, and And I used to make fun of that, saying, you don't need to do that. You don't need to say, my name is Jalal, I'm not a terrorist. You need to do your part in showing who you are to non-Muslims and others so that they say it for you. Don't talk about him. He's not a terrorist. I know him. Let people vouch for you. And yet you hit the nail right on the head when you said that. I would, the actions of America are the government's fault. The payments, the money that supports them to do the actions that they've done are the people's fault for being ignorant of what your government's doing and its foreign policies. Same with Europe, etc. But the ignorance against Muslims, that's our fault. That's our fault, because Allah did not give us Islam to keep it for ourselves. And that's one thing I used to love about London when I came here, because it's so diverse and multicultural. And so I moved here, and then within about 6 months, I realized, wait a second, what the heck is this? London is just a bunch of small cities attached to each other. A bunch of Muslims over here, a bunch of Hindus over there, a bunch of Chinese over here, a bunch of white people over there, a bunch of Jamaicans over here. It's very polarized. So it didn't work. You need to be able to party together. You need to be able to have fun together, go to each other's funerals, let your children get to know each other, bury each other's dead, and have weddings together. And that's the kind of thing that Wanid is about. It's about making people hate less and understand each other more. With that, Richard, how you doing for time? Is it time to break fast yet over there?
Got another hour and 20 minutes.
Let me just ask. I think, my dad just sent a message. He says he's proud of what you're doing. He's in Houston right now. My family's there for Mother's Day, and the family's all together. So they were tuned in, and I think my dad was like, "Should I come on? Do you want me to ask some questions?" I said, "No, that's all right. Just send it to me. I'll ask." So I've got a lot of friends and family that are really pleased with your interview and with the things you've done. Brother Richard, you've got a massive responsibility on your shoulder, whether you may like it or not, or whether you wanted it or not. But you're in a very important position, my friend. And you know that, I think. I think you've got the age wisdom. I think you know that already, and I can see that deep sigh you just took.
Yeah, well, because it doesn't matter whether I like it or not. It's God sent.
But I think that as you think about it, though, I think you'll grow to love it, because it's going to be your mark. It's going to be.
I can't believe I was chosen for that.
That's
though.
it.
Because
you're already starting to love it. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I did a lot of bad stuff in my life, and and it feels like it's kind of a way to.
So did the great Sahabas, the companions of the Prophet. They did a lot of.
That's true. Yeah.
Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu said, "You cannot know Iman unless you know Jahiliyyah," which means you won't fully understand faith unless you understand stupidity, ignorance. So the sin is what, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I love it. Kullu ibni Adam al-khata wa khayr al-khata'in at-tawwabun. He said, every son of Adam, he makes mistakes. He commits sins and wrongs. Every one of them. They're all sinners. But God loves them, some of them. The ones he loves are beautiful. The beautiful sinners. They commit beautiful sins. And the companion said, what beautiful sins? He goes, those who repent. They catch themselves. They realize. They reflect. And Richard, the biggest repentance a person can make is to walk up to a mosque and say, I've read this Quran and I want to repent my life and become anew. I want to become Muslim and take my Shahada. That's a massive, massive repentance. And I know you've got a lot of skeletons and a lot of things or burdens. Unload to your Lord. I think many scholars have probably told you that already. Unload it to your Lord. Don't carry it around. Lighten the burden. May Allah bless you, preserve you. Your eyes are different. I don't think I'm talking to the Richard that was there maybe about 15, 20 years ago. It's a different person, I know. Your eyes tell me I'm talking to a completely different person. So God bless you. May Allah preserve you, protect you. And I pray your daughter and your wife come more towards Islam. And I take it you married again after that.
No, it's the same wife now, and they did take Shahada. We can talk about that in another episode. And
That's what it was. You said you had
and
something to
that's
say, so I didn't know if
yeah,
you married again or
yeah.
they took shahada.
Yeah, it's another. Yeah, it's kind of longer. So we can talk about that next time if you want to.
I look forward to that, Richard. Let's drop an
Okay.
email. Let's pick another time. We're going to talk about moving forward for Muslims and the history, knowing our history and moving forward. That's our next subject.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Allah bless you, Richard. A lot of love.
You too.
Big hug from right here, man. It was a pleasure meeting you. And I tell you something, from everyone who's interviewed you, this guy didn't know anything. Which did you prefer?
Well, it was nice that you didn't know. Definitely nice because it's like, usually I think whenever I talk to people that, everybody out there has already heard the story. Why do they even want me here to tell it? I don't know.
I say, well, I think
watch the video.
That was the beauty of it. So there's still people
Yeah.
that need to hear it. There's a lot of people
Absolutely.
that don't know the story.
Absolutely.
God bless you, Richard. You take care.
Absolutely.
My salams to the whole family then, yeah? Talk to you
Thank you.
soon, inshallah. Make
Inshallah.
dua for us at your iftar.
Absolutely.
You were mentioning something about, is there going to be a book?
Yes, it's still in the works. We have not sent the proposal forward yet. We're still writing the proposal.
Okay.
And then, so as far as dates, I don't really have one. But I know we are working on it. So.
Oh, there is a we. So if you need any help, you let me know, okay?
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure meeting you, Richard. Talk to you
Thank
soon,
you.
brother.
You too.
A lot of love, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa
Walaikum
rahmatullahi.
salam.
Right, guys, everyone's watching still. Let me just take a couple of minutes and look at the group. If you guys drop a message into the WhatsApp group or into the Instagram page or onto the Facebook, they can send them my way. I'd love some feedback. What did you guys think of that? I've got I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about that interview. I have nothing but love for Richard and his story. What a brave man, what a brave man. And obviously he was a bit crazy brave in his past, and then Islam, and now a different kind of bravery. And I can understand. I mean, it's a blessing to understand, but I can understand why Allah chose him. He is a chosen person. And what a blessing to be in that position, subhanAllah. And especially sweet that his wife and daughter did embrace Islam. And that was beautiful. So let me just see if you have any questions for me in the halaqah group. Let's see. I did answer Anis Ahmed's question. I didn't ask the details. Sorry about that. Missed that one. Were there any other questions? Not that it matters now. He's gone. But what great news. We're going to have him again in a few days, maybe. We'll have another session with him where he's going to share with us. We're going to talk about history. Tariq al-Islam, but Tariq al-Dunya as well. We need to talk about politics. We need to talk about countries. We need to talk about what's going on, who's who, what's what. If you know anyone that you think would be of interest for me to interview, please send me their details. I would love to interview anyone that is of interest to the world and who wants to engage in spirituality and the beauty of Ramadan. Allahu Akbar. Thank you all very much. A big shout out to my beautiful mother in Houston, Texas. Abu John, salam alaikum. I love you very much. I wish I was there with you guys. I know everyone is there. Farida John from Germany, Kat from California, Jamal John in Houston. I wish you all the happiness in the world. It was so nice, the phone call we had earlier. But I just want to say, you know what? I know Farida John, you're wondering, but I am multi-talented. She's like, how in the heck are you typing while you're interviewing? Yeah, anyway, so what a beautiful interview. This brother Richard, what a twist and turn. I really didn't know much, and I liked it. I could have watched the video yesterday, but I chose not to. I thought, you know what, let me get confused in the interview because that'd be really cool. I want to ask questions sincerely. I don't want to know stuff and then make up a question just for the sake of getting them to say what I could have told you anyway. It was a very smart, very, very enlightening, very humbling interview, and I'm